Welcome to your first hands-on look at the largest LEGO Star Wars set ever made, the UCS Death Star. This Death Star will be the most expensive LEGO set to ever hit shelves. The LEGO set with the new record for the most minifigures ever included at 38 total. And we're even going to track down where that hot tub stormtrooper's getaway is hiding, as well as a potential Easter egg on what could be a future Star Wars model. Thanks to LEGO for sending this set over for review, and let's give this set a grade out of 100 and see if this is something that you should be spending $1,000 on to add to your collection. So I always love a good unboxing, and especially when LEGO makes a big set like this, they usually go all out on the unboxing, so I was very excited to get into opening this up. And I'm going to park here for just a minute and show you all of the cool details that you see as you open this set up. The exterior of the box, in my opinion, looks amazing with this massive print of the Death Star. I would have loved to have seen a glossy embossed print of the Death Star with a matte finish background, kind of like we saw with some of the Technic supercars, but we don't get that here, unfortunately. There is this beautiful image of the Death Star on the right side of the box, and then we also get some images on the back of the box here of some of the different rooms in the Death Star, and then we also see the dimensions, which we will talk about more here in a minute. The left side of the box here shows a side profile shot of the super laser dish, and I have some not so good thoughts about that, and we will get into those. And then on top here, we see the massive variety of 38 total minifigures showcased in this set. Opening the top flap, we see this awesome kind of like sketch art of Galen Erso and Grand Moff Tarkin with one of his quotes from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And then finally, we get to the three interior boxes included with this set. We get this really nice print of Darth Vader, which extends to all three boxes and was the first image we all saw of Darth Vader finally returning in Rogue One. Taking a look at box number one, we have some really nice detailing on the box along with these three separate colored LEGO lightsabers, which I thought was a nice touch. Inside box number one, we get our first 26 bags, along with this separate clear bag with some extras like the UCS plaque. We get one very large sticker sheet with this set, which I was kind of expecting just based on how large this build is, and we get the first two manuals in this box as well. The covers of the manuals are really cool because they actually have the printed look of the Death Star data card, which holds the blueprints of the Death Star, which I thought was a cool Easter egg. The manuals, however, do lack a little bit of that premium feel that I felt like we got with the 2016 Death Star manual. I would have loved to have seen them expand maybe a little bit more on making the manuals a little bit more premium, which definitely adds to the experience. There is, however, a nice breakdown of the history of the previous LEGO Death Stars, along with a nice diagram of what you are building in each manual, and also some fun details talking about the different scenes you're about to build out. It definitely does get you hyped up to get building as you read through this, and the memories of the different scenes from the movies come flooding back. Box number two is the same thing and takes us up to 53 bags total. We get two more manuals with some more details at the front, and then box number three takes us all the way up to a total of 81 bags in this set, which is totally crazy. And then, of course, two more manuals and the same detailing up at the front like we saw with the others. And I will say, I do really like how they laid out the details and the info on all the different characters and minifigures minifigures you get in each section. After I finished unboxing everything, I actually noticed the interior sides of the boxes actually had some nice printing as well, and somehow I had missed it up to that point. There are some really nice images on the sides of all three boxes, as if you're kind of standing inside the Death Star yourself, looking out into the galaxy, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, before we get into all the minifigures, I wanted to unbox this last box that basically fell on top of my head. Inside this box is the gift with purchase that will come with the set. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this set in this video, but it will come exclusively when you purchase the $1,000 Death Star at launch, and I will have a video for you to watch at the end of this video giving a full breakdown on this set and whether this GWP will make buying the Death Star day one worth it. Let's go ahead and jump into the build by first looking at this incredible lineup of 38 minifigures. We're going to start first with the 17 non-exclusive minifigures in this set that have basically been repurposed over to this set. First is one of two Imperial crew members that we get in this set. This one is not exclusive. This exact minifigure came in the 2024 Imperial Star Destroyer, but it is still a nice minifigure to have in this set. Next, we get 6 Stormtroopers. Also, all 6 not exclusive. They came in multiple sets from 2024, including, again, that Imperial Star Destroyer. It is nice, however, to get 6 Stormtroopers in this set. I honestly probably would have even preferred to get even a few more because it definitely helps to recreate and build out some of the scenes in this set. Next is Chewbacca, obviously not exclusive. This is the typical version we always get, and he comes with his bowcaster that can shoot a stud. Next is C-3PO, also not exclusive. This one came in the Trash Compactor Diorama set, and I know there's a lot of people that will not be happy about the leg printing on this C-3PO version. I think it looks good, and I'm not too concerned about it. R2-D2 is next. Obviously not exclusive, also came in that Trash Compactor set. And then we come to our 2 Death Star Gunners. They are the same version we saw again in the 2024 Imperial Star Destroyer, but both look very good. We also get 2 Imperial Navy Troopers. These are also the same versions we got from the 2024 Imperial Star Destroyer. So they definitely utilized a lot of the minifigures from that 2024 Imperial Star Destroyer. And then we get Darth Vader, not exclusive, the same version we've got in several sets from 2023 and 2024, which is unfortunate because I think this would have been a cool set to do an exclusive Darth Vader version for, in my opinion. Emperor Palpatine is also not exclusive, same version as the minifigure from the Emperor's Throne Room diorama set that we got a year or two ago. And then lastly, we get this Luke Skywalker, the Jedi minifigure, also came in that Emperor's Throne Room diorama, but pretty nice minifigure. I think it looks pretty good and actually goes for a decent amount on Bricklink. Now let's jump into the slightly more rare 14 minifigures that are technically exclusive. Mainly these are characters that we've already seen in minifigure form, but they're all unique versions. First, let's talk about our second of the 2 Imperial crew members we get with this set. She actually has the same printed torso and pants that we saw with the first crew member, but she has a unique hairpiece that is actually taken from Dedra Meero from the 2025 Rebel U-Wing Starfighter set, which is pretty cool to see. Luke Skywalker here is actually an exclusive version. We have some updated printing on his legs and torso, which I think looks really good. Han Solo, Captain of the Millennium Falcon, is also technically an exclusive version and has some updated printing, which I think looks pretty good. Luke Skywalker in his Stormtrooper disguise. This is technically exclusive. His torso and pants are actually exactly the same as we saw from his minifigure in the Trash Compactor diorama, but for whatever reason, they made some different facial printings on this Luke Skywalker minifigure, just giving him some slight differences, which is definitely odd. I'm not sure exactly why they did that, but they did change his facial prints, which is why this minifigure is unique. The designers actually did the exact same thing with the Han Solo in his Stormtrooper disguise minifigure here. So torso and pants are exactly the same from the Trash Compactor diorama, but they updated his facial printings for this set, which I guess is cool, but I'm not exactly sure why they did that. Princess Leia is actually kind of funny because they kind of reversed the order. They kept the facial prints exactly the same, but on this one, they actually updated the torso print. So I really have no idea what's going on. The Imperial Navy officer is next. This is an updated version, I would say. We have had a few Imperial officers in the past, and this is actually the one that we got back in the 2016 Death Star, which is not as good, but very similar. This new one does have a new exclusive brown hair color for that Dedra Miro hair hat mold. Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is an exclusive minifigure. We get a new updated version with some updated printing. He also comes with a separate hairpiece and then also gets a lightsaber. Grand Moff Tarkin is a minifigure we've seen a few times in the past, including this one from the 2016 version, but this is technically a new exclusive version with some updated printing. Colonel Wolf Yularen is a unique version here. We got one other version of him back in this 2015 polybag, which is similar, but I would say I think this newer version is better. We get two Imperial Royal Guards. They are very similar to the ones we've had in the past, but technically the printing on the torso is just a little bit different, so they technically are exclusive. We get an Imperial Shuttle Pilot. We have had an Imperial Shuttle Pilot before in several sets from 2017 and 2018, but the printing here on this Imperial Shuttle Pilot is slightly updated. And then lastly here is this unique version of Director Orson Krennic. We did get a version of Director Krennic back in 2016 with his Imperial Shuttle release. The printing here though is updated slightly, but if you look at them closely, there's not really a major change, unfortunately. Lastly, let's take a look at the very exclusive 7 minifigures that have never come to life in minifigure form until now. The first minifigure in this exclusive club, and yes, I am calling this a minifigure, is R3-T6. This is the first version of R3-T6. I think this figure looks really great, and I am really digging the look of the printed translucent dome piece for the head. Next here, we get Admiral Mahdi, which again, we have never seen in minifigure form, but it looks good. I wouldn't say there's anything spectacular about this minifigure, but it's just nice to have an Admiral Mahdi, and it's definitely fitting because we get the big conference room, which we'll see here in a minute. General Taga is also exclusive. Kind of my same thoughts as Admiral Mahdi. Looks good. Great to have this character in minifigure form, but doesn't necessarily blow me away with the printing or anything like that. But then we come to this Imperial Dignitary, and I think this minifigure just looks absolutely awesome. We've never had an Imperial Dignitary in minifigure form before. I love the purple. I love the printing. I love the fact that we got a new exclusive headpiece on this Imperial Dignitary. Just as a whole, I think this minifigure is a great inclusion. And then coming down to our last few is this new exclusive Death Star droid. This is 5D6-RA-7. That is a mouthful. This minifigure is definitely up there at the top for me. I love the printing on the torso and legs. I do wish it had printing on the arms, which is unfortunate, but the silver combined with the gold eyes just really pops, and I think this minifigure looks amazing. Second to last, and it's hard to tell which minifigure is going to be the most popular in this set, but I would say this is definitely going to be my favorite minifigure in this set, and that is the Hot Tub Stormtrooper. I think this minifigure is so fun. He's got his shirt off. He's ready to hop in the hot tub. He's got the swim trunks on with the Imperial logo on the side there. Only one-sided facial print, which is kind of surprising on this one with it being such a unique minifigure, but overall, I think the minifigure looks amazing, and in my opinion, this is the best minifigure that was included. But lastly, and not falling too far behind to be honest, is the Galen Erso. We finally get a Galen Erso minifigure. He's got fantastic printing on his torso, nothing on his legs, unfortunately, but we do get a little bit of printing on his right arm, which is nice to see. But now that we've looked at the incredible lineup of minifigures, was the build of the Death Star itself any good? I started off by building the base in Manual 1, which is surprisingly really solid and actually uses minimal Technic in the base. As I built upwards, I started building Docking Bay 327 here, which is where all the different starships will arrive into the Death Star, and we do get a box of supplies as well sitting here on the tarmac. In this area, we see our first few stickers pop up, which I can't say I love, but I think they're fine and they do look pretty good. And then there's also this lift shaft in the floor right over here to the left, and there's also a few more stickers in here as well. Now, after I got the base of the model established, it was kind of time to start building the model upwards, starting in Manual 2. First here, I built the trash compactor, which looks super accurate, and it can be opened and closed very smoothly with this knob on the rear of the model. I really love how the Dianoga's head pops up as the walls of the trash compactor closes, and also here's a little something in the manual as well in case you were wondering. The elevator also starts to come together starting on this first floor, which is truly a mind-blowing function in my opinion, and may very possibly be one of my favorite parts of this entire build. There are some controls and scanners on the exterior of the elevator door here with a kind of a mixture of prints and stickers. And then lastly, in this area, we get this space here by this open blast door, which is an area we can use to recreate the Darth Vader and Obi-Wan final duel, which I thought was very cool. In Manual 3, I started to get around the midway point of the Death Star. On the second floor, directly above the trash compactor, there is this long hallway that can be used to recreate a lot of scenes. A couple things to note here. We get these new exclusive printed Death Star wall panels, which I'm a very big fan of, and I'm really glad that they printed them. The other thing that I really like here is that as we go up the side of the Death Star and build out some of the frame, you get some really nice piping and greebling to add kind of texture and life to the model, which I thought was really cool. Back to this hallway though, there is a door here on the left side that you can slide open to reveal kind of this holding area for an interrogation droid, which we'll see again here in a minute. And then over here on the corner, we find this nice little Easter egg of a small brick-built mini kit, and we get a few coins to spend for good measure. Directly above this hallway on the third level, I started building out the detention block. This area looks great with all the different control panels and security cameras up above. I also have to point out the floor color and pattern here, which matches the scenes from the movies really well. Oh, and there's also this small buildable mouse droid that we get with the set. The designers did an amazing job of giving the feeling of this detention block with like this long hallway and then this really nice sticker at the end of the hallway, which adds a lot of depth to the scene. A couple really cool Easter eggs to note here. First, we have this cell door here, which does open and leads into Leia's cell 2187. It's a little hard to access from this door, so over on the side, there is this secret panel that can be removed, and then Leia's full bed can actually be pulled out, and this again is where that interrogation droid can be put to use. Directly next to Leia's cell is this small opening, and here is what happens if I drop Leia down this chute. A drop from 2 stories all the way down directly into the trash compactor, again adding tons of play and ways to recreate iconic scenes from beginning to end. So cool. The elevator continues to get built up, and then I added this brick-built reactor core, which is directly behind this removable wall, and I think is really fun that they decided to add this right in the center of the build. Continuing to move to the right, I attached this tractor beam here in the core shaft corridor where Obi-Wan was seen doing his thing. I really like the look of this tractor beam compared to other sets, and I also really like how it's suspended out in thin air, which really kind of gives it this realistic feel. Stepping back down real quick into the docking bay for a second, I added the backdrop that gave this feeling of kind of looking out into the galaxy, and I have to say I absolutely love this feature. It's totally mesmerizing to look at for one, but 2, I love how they did this by adding these little white wand elements into the wall to recreate the look of stars. Amazing work. Lastly, in Manual 3, over to the right here, there is this really detailed hangar control room with multiple seats. We see guns on the walls and then all kinds of controls and screens, which are all stickers, unfortunately, but the room does look really great. And one last detail on the back here, we can verify now that Luke Skywalker is just tall enough to be a stormtrooper. Moving to Manual 4, I first built out Darth Vader's meditation chamber. It's definitely an interesting add-on in this set, but I actually do like it, and I think it does fit well into the set. It's on the smaller side, but outside of that, there is some cool artwork up on the wall here. We can see a few of Darth Vader's posters here with the Naboo N1 starfighter hanging down. There's a picture of Darth and Palpatine from the Star Wars Summer Vacation. We see this pod race poster, and then we also get this cool poster that says "Join in the Empire in Arubesh." You will see this screen on the back wall showing Palpatine larger than life. It is a sticker, and if you go over to the side, you can can actually rotate this piece out if you want just a black background, which is kind of cool. Me personally, I'm opting to keep Palpatine on the screen and the meditation chamber in the build. The more to explore, the better in my opinion. There is a door and a small hallway leading out of the chamber, but I will say this area is a little bit too tight to do pretty much of anything. Directly above the meditation chamber, I added Grand Moff Tarkin's conference room, and unlike previous Death Star models, this room is nice and large, and the table can be moved in order to fill it out with all the great Imperial minifigures we get in this set. I also really like the detailing and the look of the back wall in this room. There is a door leading out of this room, and this is where I built out another really cool function. Turning this gear here in the floor will actually extend out this bridge, which I thought was just so cool. The wall and platform that will hold the super laser and primary control room is what I built out next. The control panels here, again, are all stickers, so that is unfortunate, but it is nice because this control room can be pulled out as needed to place minifigures on it, or you can just give yourself more room with interacting the model if you want to take it out. Directly behind here, I attached a similar screen that we have seen in past Death Stars. This screen, however, has a nice mechanism that can be turned over on the left-hand side of the model to change from this tranquil scene of Alderaan to Alderaan then being blown sky high. And one last cool thing that I have to show you over here by the elevator shaft on the 4th floor, it is this sticker showcasing a bunch of posters up on the wall. We see a couple wanted posters, this reference to the Hard Heart Cantina. This poster over here advertises some good old Stormtrooper shooting lessons. But then this last one is the most intriguing to me and definitely my favorite. This one here has some Aurubesh writing that translates to new T-16 and also shows a small picture below of a T-16 Skyhopper. So is this poster the designers hinting at potentially giving us a new T-16 Skyhopper in the future? Maybe even a UCS T-16 Skyhopper. I don't know. It's just speculation, but it does say new T-16 Skyhopper. So we'll see what the future brings, but I'm not going to say I'd be disappointed if they came out with one. Moving to Manual 5, I first built out and attached the backdrop directly behind the tractor beam. I then moved on to building out the massive super laser dish, which is probably the one tedious part of the build for me. I will say as well that I was also a little disappointed with the look of the lasers themselves. The lasers felt like they stood out a little bit more on the 2016 version, and overall just had more of like a green glow that kind of caught your eye. I don't know if it's just the fact that this dish in this set is much bigger and that it kind of drowns out the green, but I would have liked to have seen this pop more since it's just such a focal point of the set. However, this super laser dish is an impressive build, especially when you look at the base and all the detailing in this area. Now, one last Easter egg I want to point out at the super laser dish. If we take this small piece off of the back of the super laser, this piece here actually represents something that was being built by Cassian Andor, if you remember, in prison, and is essentially assumed to be a part of the Death Star. Brilliant little hidden Easter egg. Directly above the super laser is one of the set's largest sections that gets put together. First, on the left side here is the secondary control room for the super laser. This room offers a higher look down at the dish, which is kind of nice. And then there's also some nice detailing in this room for the controls, as well as kind of like this slanted wall with a window looking into this room, which I thought was a nice touch. Moving to the right is the largest room in the entire build, which is the Emperor's Throne Room. In here, there are all kinds of nice detailing, steps and platforms leading up to Emperor Palpatine's throne. The back window has this nice deep look to it by extending out to the rear of the model just slightly, and then also using this transparent dish piece for the glass. There is a nice play function to the left here with this platform for recreating the final duel. You can push this Technic pin inward, which will collapse the entire platform, and then you can simply push it back up like so. So simple, but so effective. This entire floor gets attached to the top of the build, and then we can add a few details below with this makeshift grappling hook for Luke and Leia to swing across on, which is super cool. Getting into manual number 6, the elevator finally arrives all the way at the 6th floor. And just to talk about this elevator for a minute, the fact that this thing goes up and down 6 floors without a hitch to me is incredible. I haven't had any problems with this elevator since building it. It doesn't get stuck on anything. You basically turn this knob up at the very top of the model here to move the elevator up and down all 6 floors. As the elevator reaches each floor, you're actually going to see this white utensil ingot piece appear. Basically shows you that the elevator has arrived at that floor, which is just genius. Now, going back up to the 6th floor, there's only one thing up here, and it's sitting right behind this wall, if you can guess what it might be. Yes, the Stormtroopers' hot tub getaway is behind this wall. There is this secret breakaway door leading into this room, but for even easier access, you can swing this left side panel up here, which makes it nice and easy to get in and out. The hot tub can be totally removed from this area, complete with its water and rubber ducky. The room itself comes with this karaoke machine up on the wall, which is awesome. And then you also get a few other items on the wall like this brush. The last 2 things you build here is this gunner area on the side of the Death Star that is accessible by lifting up this hatch, which I thought was fun. And then just to talk about the side of the Death Star briefly, the fact that the designers were able to achieve this smooth circular shape for the sides, to me is just super impressive in my opinion. I think it looks really great. The last part of the build is this Imperial shuttle, which is actually a decent size and fits really comfortably on the docking bay here along with the other minifigures and cargo. The shuttle is fully functional with opening wings. It is technically minifigure scale, so you can put a minifigure up front here. However, I wouldn't say it's very accessible, as it is kind of hard to get into the cockpit without pieces falling off, and the top of the minifigure's head kind of gets cut off after you close the hatch, which isn't too great either. Finally, in UCS fashion, we get this info plaque here with the build that I will say is printed, and that is great to see, along with this small computer that does have some stickers that we can place right in between Galen Erso and director Orson Krennic. All I can say is, wow, what a build. It was absolutely amazing. It took me about 22 hours or so to build the entire model. That is with me doing some filming along the way. But the incredible thing about that is, in all those 22 hours, you would have thought it would have got old at some point along the way, but the designers did an incredible job of just keeping fresh things coming throughout the entire build, building out all these incredible scenes, and it just kept the build very interesting the entire way, even though it is a super lengthy build. So incredible building experience. So on display, I think the big thing is that a lot of people thought they were going to be displaying some sort of a sphere when it came to this set, and obviously we ended up with this diorama. And for me personally, I also had the sphere in my head leading up to this release, so when I first saw the images, I was definitely disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, but I did tell myself that I would hold judgment until I got my hands on the set and had a chance to actually build it and see it firsthand. And let me tell you, my opinion absolutely has changed. The way the set is laid out in this diorama form is actually genius. The designers did intend this to be displayed up against a wall or a bookshelf, so I will say, looking at the back of the model, it definitely is a little bit unfinished, but for me personally on this one, I could really care less. The front, the side people are actually gonna see, is incredible. Most of the controls are also accessible from the side, so there's very few reasons to even access the back. With that though, I will add obviously that it is a massive set to display, coming in at 27.5 inches or 70 centimeters high, and then it's 31 inches or 79 centimeters wide. And then you have another 10.5 inches or 27 meters in depth. So you're gonna need, regardless, a lot of space to display this set, which could be perceived as a little bit of a drawback. Hopefully though, it should be somewhat easy to free up some space, because you can then move out some of these smaller separate builds that kind of recreate some of these scenes like the dioramas, get rid of those and put this new Death Star in its place. And just to show you the size comparison of how big this set looks sitting next to the old 2016 Death Star, you can kind of get an idea of how absolutely massive this set actually is. And then here's a couple other recent Star Wars sets that were released next to the Death Star, just to give you a little bit more of an idea of scale here. Moving into play, as we've already kind of seen, this set excels just as much. As we talked about in the build itself, the designers have absolutely packed this set full of functionality, from the moving trash compactor, retractable bridge, removable sections and panels, along with so much more. Not to mention the full list of 38 minifigures to recreate pretty much every scene you can think of in details. This is a Lego set that was designed and built to display, but somehow manages to cram in an insane amount of functionality and play functions into this set at the very same time. So it absolutely deserves a very high grade on display and play. So I'm going to put it up there at 19 out of 20 on this category. I guess the next big question we need to answer is if this set is actually worth the massive $1,000 price tag. To answer that question, we really need to look at several things. To start with, we get over 9,000 pieces in this set, which does make this, like I said, the largest Star Wars set ever made, but puts it actually in the 5th place for the largest Lego set, behind the world map, the Eiffel Tower, Titanic, and then the Colosseum. Adding the GWP to the set, though, actually does move it up into 3rd place. Now, Star Wars typically comes in around 12 cents price per piece, with maybe some exceptions for Lego Star Wars in 2025. But putting that aside, this set comes in right at just over 11 cents price per piece, which for me personally, I actually think is really good considering the normal price of Star Wars in 2025. Next, if we look at the value the minifigures add to this set, we have at least $100 in non-exclusive minifigures that we pretty much already know the value of. We don't know yet the value of some of the other unique versions and exclusive versions of these minifigures will go for yet, but if we say the unique versions will go for maybe around $10 a piece, and then the exclusive versions will go for $25 a piece, which I'm sure some of them will go for a lot more than that. Just being conservative though, we probably have at least $500 in minifigures in this set, which is more than half the set cost right there. That would basically cut the price per piece cost in half, and we haven't even factored in GWPs or Rakuten cashback, insider points to help blunt the blow of the initial purchase. I think you get the point. Kind of just doing some simple math here, I definitely feel like there is $1,000 in value in this set. Now, I do understand $1,000 just in itself is a lot of money to spend on anything, and especially a Lego set that's not necessarily a necessity. However, if you did save up your money or went out and purchased this Death Star day one, looking at everything and considering this set as a whole, I do feel like if you spend $1,000 on it, you are getting $1,000 in value when you buy this set. So if you bought it at retail, you're getting $1,000 in my opinion on this set. If you get it for less than $1,000 with GWPs and all the extras, good for you. So as far as where the community stands on this set, and to be frank, it's still hard to kind of figure out where everyone is at on this set. There's a lot of people that absolutely love it. There's people that like it but don't like the price. There's people that absolutely hate the Death Slice. And we kind of see that with the community poll that I put up on the set. We see Dark Knight 311 saying the price is the issue. We see Super123 saying it's another unobtainable Lego Death Star and it's not even spherical. We see World's Heaviest Jam Band saying I don't like it for $1,000. So there's definitely some mixed feelings on this set. But if we just look at the poll itself, as of this recording, we see almost 60% voting this set a don't like. And I think that's a combination of, one, not met expectations. A lot of people were expecting that sphere. And two, the fact that it is just such an expensive set, $1,000, in my opinion, a good value, but still just unattainable at that $1,000 price point for a lot of people that maybe would like to get their hands on this set. So unfortunately, on the community vote, it is going to be a little bit of a lower grade. So this is exactly what the community grade is all about, because obviously you could see with my grades, this definitely would have landed in the must-buy category for me personally. However, the idea here is that the community can also get involved in these reviews, and that can kind of even out what the grade actually ends up being. And obviously, with the community vote, you guys did have it at a much lower grade. So instead of this falling in the must-buy category, we are going to get a grade of 84 out of 100, which is going to fall just shy of the must-buy category, and it's going to fall into the consider buying this set category. Now, the one question that did not get answered in this video is, where does that TIE Fighter from the GWP actually get attached into the Death Star? Click on the video on your screen here next. I'm going to give you a full but brief breakdown on whether this GWP will make the Death Star worth buying on day one, and I'm also going to show you where that TIE Fighter gets placed on the Death Star.